Hi there, you lovely lot, and welcome to episode 5 of Pat's Procrastination, brought to you by the Pat's Propaganda channel with Clazzy Clare and Chudders. As we said, episode 5, 5th week. We are here to discuss, to debate, to argue out, to try and lift you with some positivity, hopefully, potentially, because I know that there's a few of you out there that have kind of said, given that cry for help to us for the show, and if we can lift your spirits. So I hope that we can in some way or another. So yeah, thank you for joining us. Please don't forget to subscribe to the Pat's Propaganda YouTube channel to ensure that you do not miss an episode of Pat's Procrastination. And quickly, before I bring in my co-host, I just want to say a shout out, happy birthday to Jay. He's not much of a podcaster, but he does like to listen, maybe watch our show a little bit. So big shout out and happy birthday to Jay, and thank you.
Happy birthday, Jay.
There we go. So here he is, my co-host, Chudders. How's it going? So the Jags played a great game against Buffalo, huh?
Yeah, what a game it was. It was poor actually to the last 10 minutes, then it got exciting. If you'd rather talk about that one. Now, so you touched on this, and you did get some messages begging for your bouncing positivity.
I think that's a bit of a stretch. That's a bit of a stretch.
Go on, fill the world with hope and happiness, Claire. Oh no!
I do have actually. I do have a really good, sparkly, lovely point for the game. Unfortunately, it's got nothing to do with the Patriots.
Unfortunately, it kicked off, and at that point, the positivity went completely out the window.
There was one thing. There was one cool thing that I did want to point out, and it's tight endage related. So this can be my tight endage segment. We can have used this up for my tight endage segment, so that's fine. And once we've done this, we can move on because we are a Patriot show pretty much. So we will talk about that. But I just wanted to say a nice positive. Foster Moreau, the tight end for the Saints, who used to be the tight end for the Raiders, in March he was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma, and in July he got the he got the in remission. And I just kind of want to celebrate that he's touchdown. I know it's against the Patriots, and I fully appreciate that, but for the sort of just for the sport itself, for football itself, I think it's very cool that their guy sort of managed to fight and come back, because obviously for the sport that I know that we love. So I wanted to champion that in a way of just as a positivity to the sport, that it was so great that he was in remission and he was able to join his team back in May. I think he started in training camp when he was with the Saints and scored his touchdown. Unfortunately, yes, it was against the Patriots, so it was quite unfortunate. But I feel that that's still something with a sort of a slight celebration tag to it, even though it's got nothing to do with the Patriots.
So from a humanitarian level, that's very positive news. Do you have any good points that you want to touch on here, Claire?
Genuinely, I do not believe what we have seen is true for the Patriots. I'm bemused and confused as to why it's like this. It doesn't add up. I know that people question the weapons and things, but they've got some decent guys. Okay, they haven't got any elite ones and this, that, and the other. They haven't got any major sparkle playmakers, whatever you want to call it, but they haven't. A lot of the members of this team aren't bad. Now, O-line, we're going to put that over there for a bit because that's a completely different matter other than David Andrews. But the actual players on the defense and some of the offense are good NFL players. So I am baffled. I don't believe this adds up. I'm a little bit confused, especially with the whole, well, they've got a new offensive coach and he was supposed to be a complete godsend sort of thing in Bill O'Brien. He was going to solve everything. So for me, it doesn't add up. It feels, I think I said this I put this on social media maybe, or I asked a question. It feels like a Twilight Zone to me. Doesn't add up. Doesn't make sense. 1 and 1 is not equaling 2 at the moment for me. And that's not positive, but it's not exactly negative.
On the Bill O'Brien thing, I agree. I thought the offense would look a lot better than it is. I don't think it's. I'm putting all of this at his door because there were some play choices that I thought were the right plays, but they're just not being executed, which you can't put.
I'm not blaming one person completely. Sorry to talk over you. There isn't. I don't believe that there's blame for one individual to be at one door. There's a lot of blame pie to go around. Sorry, please carry on.
No, definitely. So the positives that I can touch on, again, similar to last week, it's just individual plays. Douglas had another good play. Go on.
No, really, we're going to do this. We're going to pick out 2 really good plays. Why don't we just talk about how it really is? People
Absolutely
don't want to say, well, yeah, okay, but Douglas made a good play and now he's out with a concussion. Tell you what I want. I will tell you what I want right now.
Tell me what you really, really want.
Don't do a trashy Spice Girl joke. That's terrible. I would really like to watch the Patriots play decent football. I kind of, at this point, don't care if that means losing every single game. I'm tired of not seeing them play up to their potential. They have got more than this. They are better than this. Now, if they're better than this is still sucky and is still going to lose, okay, fine. I can cope with that, whatever. Losing season, whatever. It's fine. Just stop giving us trash because they are better than what we are being given. And I just want to see some decent football. Like I said, they can lose. I don't care. Just stop losing badly and so unpatrioty.
So on that then, do you think, and I think that's certainly true of the last 2 weeks where they've just been blown out. So do you consider the first 2 games of the season good losses then? Because they were competitive and close against what, at this point, you'd have to say Super Bowl contenders in Dolphins and Eagles.
It was better. I'd rather watch, if you're asking me kind of what games I'd rather see, I'd rather see them get beaten by teams who are worthy to beat them and them playing worthy to their own name, to themselves. What's happening at the moment? They're not even getting blown out, though, in theory, because
the last 2 games.
No, they're beating themselves. They aren't even getting blown out because they are. I mean, Joe Cardona can't snap all of a sudden. There is some weird ass curse cloud on this team. There's some really strange things going on because don't. Joe Cardona, he's like the best long snapper in the NFL. I don't know, nearly ever. I don't know, but it was definitely the highest paid one. But for him to be snapping badly, you've got David Andrews just kind of whiffing a little bit here and there. I know that people will moan about the kickers because they came in and they're rookies and you shouldn't have got rid of Nick Folk. And it's like, yeah, but you've got to bring the new guys in and move it along. One side you're saying, oh, don't get rid of Nick Folk. But the other side is saying, oh, but use the new guys. You can't have both. So they're using the new guys and who seemed quite talented and now they're whiffing as well. It's like there's just something is encapsulating the whole team. Even the players who are good are like falling foul to it. And the epitome was, it was a complete BS call. So he didn't do anything. But what was it? There was a penalty call, a block in the back on Matthew Slater. Matthew Slater got a penalty call. It was BS. It didn't actually, but it got called.
Well,
and it's
it was Schooner. I think not. You're right. It was called on Slater, but it wasn't.
It's because he tripped just as Slater touched him, sort of situation. And it's like when you look at that, it's like, oh, that's the conclusion. Even Matthew Slater's getting calls against him. Not legitimately, really, obviously, but it's like, this is why I have, and I will turn this around so well, I have amazed myself. This is why I still have hope. This is why there's still positivity, because they have to come out of this cloud of whatever it is, because plenty of the players on this Patriots team are good enough to play much better than they are. So I'm hoping that a really strong wind comes in and blows this fog of weirdness away, and when they go out against the Raiders they actually do something that we know that they are competent and capable of doing. There you go, there's your positivity. And on that, folks, we're going to wrap up before we get I'm joking.
So you know how storms have a name, like how storms get names. Do you think this
be very careful how you would
that gets blown away, do you think that has a name, and it's possibly, I don't know, let's say a first name of Bill and a surname of Belichick, and that could be the reason that
Well,
they've not started as well this season as they should be?
do you really think that he can taint everything, even a long snapper not being able to snap? Really? I understand what you're saying, and yes, I know that Bill is taking a load of heat, and I know that the coaching should be taking a load. I don't know why Bill O'Brien isn't taking as much heat. All the heat seems to be being thrown at Bill Belichick at the moment, and I don't get that little bit myself personally, because when Mac was under Coach Bill Belichick, but Josh McDaniels, he wasn't as bad. What's the difference here? Not McDaniels, but O'Brien. So, excuse me. So yeah, yeah. Anyway, that aside. Oh, I now forgot what I was going with my com. Oh, damn it. Lost my train of thought.
So, one thing you said earlier was that there's talent on the offense and they're not performing. The question I have for you is, do you think there's enough talent on the O-line?
No, not defensive line, no.
I'd agree. Do you think there is sufficient talent in the wide receiver room?
I did, until we saw what Juju can really do or not do. That's unfortunate. And I get why people are calling for the whole you shouldn't have got rid of Jacoby Myers. And I was on that bandwagon. I loved Jacoby. He was great. And he's obviously performing away from it. But to me, it was like, I'm not that arrogant that I think that I know better than Bill and stuff. So they think that Juju will perform better in the system. And he didn't. And it's very unfortunate. So the wide receiver room is concerning.
I don't think they thought that Juju would perform better in the system. I think
no.
And no, I just think Belichick's ego got blown out. He didn't like Myers, wanted to get rid of him, and thought Juju was the next best thing, and he'd be able to do the same as what Myers did. And
we can never agree when you go down that road, though. This is how we always argue, folks. When it always goes down that route of ego and stuff.
The next two, I think we could possibly agree on: the running back room and the tight end room. They've not got mind-blowing players, but I think we could say they've got sufficient enough talent in those rooms that under a functioning offense they can function. Do you say
the running backs should be performing way better than they are? This is the other thing. We know that those two running backs are way better than what we are seeing. So what are they doing? And the tight ends, Hunter is trying his best, and I'm not quite sure what's going on with Gesicki. I don't think he's being targeted enough. Don't pull that face.
Number one receiver for the Pats this year, isn't he?
Yeah, okay. So my sandwich bet. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Live on it. Oh no, we're recording. It's not really live. I'm going to take down my sandwich bet and just screw it up.
No, you know what? Tracy, we're going to get this later. That bet is the one that you're most likely to win, because if the Patriots continue this appalling offense, you could be going into the last game of the season and Gesicki's still got a chance of winning it. He gets a couple of touchdowns.
At least I will. Fine, I'm going to hold out hope for that then, because I really liked the signing, and I really like the player, and I really think he's decent, and I really want them to keep him.
So let's move on. I think they will be. They've paid him enough. Let's move on then.
Good.
And the big elephant in the room, the quarterback room.
Oh, this may be the topic that we argue about the most, actually.
Do they have sufficient talent in that quarterback room?
I want to say yes, but I haven't
been a positive answer on this.
I think that the Mac Jones that we're seeing isn't the true Mac Jones, and he is more talented than what we are seeing. Will we ever see? I don't know. This is the
okay. I can agree with that, but my question to you is: when we see a talented Mac Jones, do you even think a talented Mac Jones is good enough to be a franchise quarterback for that team?
I kind of do.
So you still have hope that he is going to be the franchise quarterback? I play better, But my point is, his best is nowhere near going to be good enough.
Yeah, I don't.
Everything we've seen.
This one's tricky for me, which you know it is, and that's why you bring it up, because you love this, because you love everybody agreeing with you and nobody agreeing with me, and me seeming crazy. You enjoy this.
Are you talking about every single pundit in America, or are you talking about the fans? Or are you talking about
the way you, Mister? I just think he's better than what we're seeing, and I think it's so bad because everybody's kind of calling for his head, and he can do better.
Would you start him? Would you start him against the Raiders?
Yes.
I wouldn't. You know what? I might not even suit him up. I'd bring out an injury report on Wednesday that shows shoulder, elbow, and tell the world that he's got a nagging injury and he won't be playing.
Wow.
Go with Greer and Zappi and just see what happens.
See, Greer, I'm fine to see what he's got on the field because I don't know what he's got. I haven't seen him play. So you put Greer out there, I'm going to be like, okay, let's see what he's got. I'm actually okay with that. I'm okay if they put out Greer. Zappi.
Okay, so you'd rather see Greer than Zappi?
Yes, 100%.
I don't think Zappi played well.
If Zappi's your option, I want Mac in. Straight line. Because everything that Mac was doing wrong, that I know he can do better, or we have seen him do better, Zappi did wrong as well, and we haven't seen him do better. Personally, that's my opinion of the matter. I know other people will think otherwise, and that's fine. You do you, I do me. But no, they put Zappi in, and all the mistakes that Mac was making, Zappi was making. So what is the point? Because I believe Mac is a better quarterback.
So why would you not? I'm playing devil's advocate slightly here, but why do you?
Shock!
Do you not think that Zappi could play better than you saw him on Sunday?
No, I don't think he can. I think I haven't seen it from him, and I've seen it from Mac in the past.
Okay, that's fine. There's one stat that I did put out on Twitter to the 3 followers that I have. I've worked out.
That's so disrespectful to all the other followers that you have.
It's my unpopularity. You're the star of the show.
Terrible.
So this offense, I've calculated, has scored 53 points this season, including PATs. This offense has given up 55 points in turnovers and takeaways through 5 games. Forget the defensive side of the ball. That's how bad this offense has been.
Yeah. You don't need to throw stats. It's very good of you. And I need to give more credit to your followers because you have way more followers than you say that you do. And you're way more popular than you say you are. So just for the record. But yeah, we get it. You kind of don't need to give us the stats. We get it. They have, you know how bad they were? Let me share a personal piece of information with all the however many people are listening, watching. So, it got that bad. Oh, go on. Sorry.
Go on then. Go on, finish your point.
I was just going to be completely vulnerable and share something very personal, and now I'm not going to, so let's move on.
Oh, wow. So I think we all know how bad this offense is, how bad they're playing. Defensive side of the ball, first series looked pretty good. Wade was contesting at cornerback, and Bentley had a good first series with some big hits and then a sack at the end to end that drive. I thought JC Jackson did well in his first game back. He kept his side quiet, to be fair. Wasn't targeted much, I don't think. And Bentley, he had a very busy day, 11 tackles, sack, and a QB hit. If we're looking at some positives. The rest of the defense just felt like they were going through the motions. I thought they knew early they ain't competing in this game, and it just felt like they were going through the motions. That's my fear. And my fear is they could see that in other games going forward.
So this is the whole sort of cloud of curse or whatever you want to call it that's over them. It's migrating into the defense, and like you said, the defense aren't pushing themselves because what is the point at this point, or at that point, I guess you could say.
Yeah, and you could say it's even migrating to special teams as well. Missed field goal, fair catching
exactly what I said.
After the re-kick when he was further back than the first kick. that would have landed. Some of the punt, there were 5 good punts, I think, inside the 20, but then there were the first couple of punts that were short. Special teams aren't performing, as you said. Cardona is not snapping the ball cleanly this season for whatever reason, whether Father Time's catching up with him after so many good years in the league. It's just not looking good, really, is it?
He's probably, 32 or something ridiculous. I don't know how we age these individuals that are so young.
I'm not saying he's past it, but it could change. So I think we're all fairly clear on how bad and where all the problems were on Sunday. My question for you is, what's the solution? And I'm talking, what do you want to see for the rest of this season?
Oh, I've already answered that. Just better football. Like I said, if they lose, okay, they lose. I want to see them play how I know that they're capable of playing, really, if I'm going to watch anything. But are you talking about the whole, do you want 1 win or 5 wins? Is that your actual question?
Well,
are you sparking that conversation for people?
So it's more, it's a really holistic view. Like I said last week, I didn't have hopes at the start of the season that we were going to be winning a Lombardi trophy. I was pessimistic. I didn't even think we'd even make the playoffs. Clearly,
pessimistic.
Clearly that was being positive to even consider we might be in a playoff hunt. So now I'm at the point where, you know what, I really want. Well, in fact, before the season started, I wanted to get a decision made about my quarterback, and for me, that's done now. So
I'm glad you know whether or not you want Mac.
Yeah, I don't think I'm alone, and I got a feeling that head coach is in that bus as well. My look at the season is, I'd like to see what talent we've got throughout the whole roster. I want everyone playing. I want them tested in positions. White, it's a good chance now for him. Judon out, he needs to be playing nearly every snap. How strongly can he perform?
Judon.
I said White. I want White performing with Judon out. Maybe I wasn't clear enough, or maybe.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I apologize. Yes,
no.
I misunderstood what you said. Sorry, with Judon out. Yes, sorry.
Yeah, that's it. JC Jackson. How well can he play again now? Because that could be a mouth-watering cornerback room next season with Gonzalez back. If you've got JC Jackson and Gonzalez one side, you've got Jones, even Marcus Jones even coming back potentially as well. Jack Jones. There's some quality on the defense. Let's get it all tested. Let's work out on that side of the ball who's going to be there. On the offensive side of the ball, it's a mess. I think we're already pretty clear we're going to need some different O linemen for next year. New tackles, probably. We're already pretty confident we're going to need some offensive weapons. We're going to need some receivers because what we have is really not performing well enough. Running game, I'm fairly happy with that room, but you're going to need more. There's no depth there. But the big question is quarterback now. For me, I'm done on that decision now. Let's just see what sticks. Let's see if there's anything out there. I don't have any high hopes that Zappi or Greer or anyone, people said Minshew or any of those players I don't really want. But what's sticking? Can you find anything that might be worth not even starting, but keeping in that quarterback room next year to continue on as you look for a rebuild? I have little care about the results of games individually for the rest of the season. It's the performances of players that I'm interested in seeing from here on. Like you're attesting to, and I know we've exchanged messages about this, in my mind, we're in a quarterback hunt now. Whether that's in the draft, whether that's trading, whether that's looking at free agency, we're in a quarterback hunt. In all honesty, there's a couple of top tier blue chip quarterbacks possibly in the draft next year. You are in a position now, if you want to be potentially competing for their services.
Okay.
If I'm completely honest, I think this is a top down, as high as it gets, reset needed. I think Jonathan Kraft should be walking into his dad's office today and saying, you know what, Dad, I think it's time for a reset. I think it's time that I take on control of this football team. I say club then, that's a British thing. We need a new head coach. We need a new quarterback, and we go in a new direction. There isn't going to be, it's hard to envisage a better scenario than what the Patriots will have this offseason with 100 million in cap space and the potentially picking really highly in the draft. There is no better opportunity for a true reset of this roster, of this team, and going in a new direction. And I think, in my mind, that's what's needed now.
Okay. Well, I'm going to move on to, that's fair, a question that we had, because it kind of it doesn't really, link-ish. As you know, Kev said, who do you think they should beat on their schedule? Washington at home, Indy in Germany. They have some winnable games, but most of them on the road. So thanks, Kev, for the question for the show. Do really appreciate that. Good talking point that we were going to, I would imagine we were migrating into this talking point anyway, because we have for a while anyway, recently. So it seemed a good thing to sort of keep for the show as well. So yeah, who do you think that they should beat on the schedule then?
No one. I think they have winnable games. Like you said, Washington, Indy, Jets, Giants, Broncos. They're all winnable games.
Yeah. Is someone eating your notes?
It'll be my dog Chewbacca. I don't know what she's eating, but she'll be messing around somewhere. Sorry if that's a loud background noise for everyone. Those are the winnable games, but I don't think there's anyone you can pencil a victory now. After those last two performances, I don't think there's anyone you can be penciling in any wins against anymore.
There's one, I think.
Well, go on then. Which one?
The Giants game.
Quite possibly. I mean, they've still got Saquon Barkley to come back fully, and they've got some talent there, but even them, I wouldn't pencil anything in against at the moment. It depends how this offense is playing by that time that game comes round as well.
See, this is it. If they get out of the funk, if they get out of this weird funk that they are in, and maybe go back to how they were before they played the Jets a bit, whilst they still lost, it's like maybe they've got some chance of winning against a couple of the teams. Like Kev was saying, you know, the winnable games more so on the road, but maybe the Broncos game as well. The Giants game, the Broncos game. If they at least revert back to what they were a few games ago, then that. But I know that the thing is this, like probably plenty of Patriots Nation now, this will make you happy if they lose, because you want them to be in a good position to draft that sort of young new quarterback, and they need to be high in the draft to enable to do that. And if they do, and if they are in that position, there's a really good chance that Bill's either left / been fired / retired. So you're in the position where you don't have the coach that you don't want anymore, and you're in a good position to take the sort of quarterback that you do want. So a losing season now is something that you're kind of championing for.
Sort of. I'd love it if they won every single game, made the playoffs, went on a amazing run, won the Super Bowl. I'm not pretending. I'm not going to be wishing defeat every single week. But it's been trying to be realistic, to acknowledge the talent you have, the way they're performing, and how best do you want this season to unfold now. And it's also not even just looking at this season, because yes, you could win 5 games then, let's say, the rest of the season, and go, you know what, after week 5, we won 5 out of, 12 remaining. We won 5 of those games. We did okay. We were more competitive. You could look at it with that positive spin. But ultimately, you're going nowhere with those 5 wins. You're
You mean
still
in the draft for next year?
well. No, I mean in the holistic view that this has been a 4-year rebuild, and you've gone from 2 or 2 seasons ago where you made the playoffs, albeit you were absolutely destroyed by the Bills. That you've gone downhill last year, and you've gone even further downhill if you finish the season with 5-6 wins. That okay, you won 5 games, but so what? You're in a worse position. You're trending in the wrong direction. That's not a positive victory come the end of the season in my mind.
Something that oh, sorry.
Go on. No, go on.
No. Carry on.
I was just going to say, in my mind, we're now in a position where we could have a rebuild. Everything that is needed for a rebuild is there. If we continue on, we win 5-6 games, we're picking, say, 11, 12 in the draft, and we potentially have the same head coach who has the same philosophy, and with that 12th pick, he takes a defensive lineman, and we're all shouting our heads off on draft night, and he blows 100 million cap space on the players we don't want, another guard and everything else, and we're left fuming because he's still got belief in Mac next year, and we'll feel like we have blown this one chance we had.
Do you genuinely believe that he will still have that confidence in Mac next year? If everything stays the same coaching wise, do you see everything staying the same quarterback wise?
I don't know.
Okay.
Because what I fear is I don't know that he's going to want to draft a new quarterback high up, because he's not. The realistic thing is he's not in it for another 4-year rebuild. He's not going to be here that long. So I don't think he's going to draft anyone highly. I don't think he's going to go and blow out and get a top tier quarterback in free agency or via trade. It could be something like Kirk Cousins, someone like that, who realistically, that's not going to be the next franchise quarterback of the Patriots who's going to win a Super Bowl, or to be honest, probably even get to the playoffs, let alone win a playoff game. That I can't see Bill building something truly from the ground up again.
No, so that's fine. I was just
the best option. So that's where the curious. Best option for him could be to keep Matt, because he'll still be on a rookie contract. That gives him the most cap space to go and get the players he wants in other positions, albeit not necessarily the players that you or I or analysts or anyone would think is the best players, true weapons. And I fear that he's not going to go in a new direction. My fear is these last 4 years have been an ego management for him. The philosophy he's taken is to try and build. He has in some ways successfully done this, an incredibly strong defense, who have ranked quite highly. He's had a defensive player of the year in that time. And every year the defense have been incredibly competitive because he's known as a defensive coach, and he can be the one that gets the pat on the back for that. And I think that was his way of showing, you know what, all this talk of Brady and how good he was, is the defense that kept us in everything. And it's neglect on the offense. The quarterbacks that we've had in that 4-year span have been nowhere near good enough. There've been virtually zero weapons in that time. And the offense has not been scoring points, has not been winning games. But you can't say that it's much surprise, because as you say, everyone will agree with me, but everyone says it. Everyone thought they needed weapons. They needed a true number one receiver.
Yeah.
He's not stupid. He knows that. He didn't want to do it. And I fear that I can't believe that next year he's going to completely change his philosophy and go, you know what? You're going to right. We're going to go and get all the best players, the best positions, something new, fresh, wonderful. Boom, we're going to do it. Because if he did that, they would be, those players would be the ones that would get the credit if it turned around and they played well. And it would be almost further criticism on him, because I'm saying, well, why didn't you do that years ago? You can only win with good players, and I don't think he wants to do that. That's the fear I have. Now, that as a that's almost Bill the GM that we're criticizing there in his roster construction. and that okay, me. And that I've been at peace with for some time now, because that's the way he does things. Where the needle has really flicked for me this season is the game planning. Everyone used to say, "Oh, Bill the GM is letting down Bill the coach," but Bill the coach can coach up any team, competitive every game. All the game plans are amazing. They haven't. They've been bad. They can't start games. They come out of the locker room the second half and they're not performing any better. They're not going on touchdown drives to open the second half. The game planning's not there. Teams are not looking prepared. The final 2-minute drills, those game-winning drives that you want to see at the end of games, they're not there. It's simple mistakes. It's the things that we have praised Bill about, and he is the best coach ever there's been, and he has been brilliant at those things. But now it's failing. Now it's not succeeding anymore. That's why I think, okay, maybe it's time for that change.
One quick thing, a rhetorical question. Don't know if I believe it or not, but it's just something that popped into my head. You say about that, the planning and the execution. The last few years, it has been said by various Boston social media here, there, and everywhere that it appears that Bill is taking a step back. Is it a case of it's not actually Bill that's pulling these strings, although it appears to be, and he's actually taken that step back? He's given the reins to his offensive coordinator, his defensive coordinator, and all the things that are going wrong is actually to do with what they are doing. But because he's kind of let them, he's willing to take the flak, because that's the kind of that's how it's always been, sort of thing. Is it rhetorical? I'm not posing it as a question to you. I'm not saying that it is true. It's just as something that, as I said, it popped into my head of, it's been that thing that they're saying, oh, well, he's taking a step back. Who's to say that this isn't of the fault of those who are stepping forward? And you won't agree with me, because you never agree with me whenever I pose anything that's even slightly of an opinion. It always is, yeah. So we won't even go there, folks. On that, okay. We will just move. Go on.
Well, I was going to say, in my mind, he knew before any of us for certain that he was losing Tom Brady and there was no backup plan. He could see he was going to lose Gronk and there was no backup plan. He knew his backup plan for Josh McDaniel was the bearded, pencil-pushing wonder. He is in charge of roster construction throughout the whole team, but specifically as we're talking for the offense. His solution was to draft a first or a third round guard in the first round when everyone was screaming for weapons, who's now only playing because we have no one else, because he's not played that well.
I'm not saying this is the case. I'm just saying it's a perspective that you're not looking at because you don't see, because we can't see. We'll never be shown these things. We'll never be told these things. But as usual, yeah, I'm wrong. So we'll just move on.
I think it's a hypothetical question, but accountability is a big word that I think is being liberally used by the coach himself. He holds others to account very quickly. As you and I exchanged at the weekend, you thought Ty Montgomery was going to be sat when he fumbled the ball.
I did.
Which is exactly what he did with Douglas when they fumbled early in the season. And I said, no, he won't. And Montgomery was out on the next play. But that's because Bill holds these players to account.
Let's just make sure that everybody knows you're right, shall we?
He doesn't hold himself to account.
I think he does. Seems
that's
to.
One we'll have to
anyway,
agree to
we've gone way over. So, as they say, it is on to Vegas, baby.
Hang on. Whoa. Before we do that, you covered your tight ends. There's one more tight end question I had for you.
Okay.
So you'd like to not necessarily criticize, but you're not looking at you don't like the talk of necessarily looking at the next quarterback, the next who's going to be available in the draft, that sort of thing. You still want to see if Matt can do it. At what point?
Kind of. Not. Hang on. Don't misquote me here.
Okay.
I kind of. You're making it a very definitive. It's not. It's just I'm willing to give Matt more of a chance than you are. That's a different situation.
My question was going to be, at what point do you think, hang on, we could tank here to get Brock Bowers?
Yeah, there's no point doing that. If they need a quarterback, they need a quarterback, don't they? If they need to tank, as you like to say, which I hate, then it's going to be needing a quarterback, isn't it? Because we know that's the weakness.
And people think he could even be in the Heisman running, a tight end in the Heisman running. He had another great weekend. That's definitely going to be
post-it notes
to take.
With who they want. Yeah, Brock Bowers, Cade Stover at Ohio State, TCU's Jared Wiley. The names go on the wall, folks.
Who wins your? So hang on, are you giving your tight end of the week then tomorrow?
Am I giving my tight end? Foster Moreau. Yeah, because he scored a touchdown. So I'm going to be nice and say that. However, actually, no. Let me retract that, because Hunter Henry was targeted twice with such overthrown that the poor guy had no chance. So, no, I'd still give it to him, I suppose. If you're like scraping the pan a bit, kind of thing. But we're going way over now, and people are going to have just tuned out by now.
Finish then, because I need to do my underrated player of the day.
You really don't, because it can be the same person.
How? He's not even played this week.
Oh, okay.
Although that's probably why he can win. But yeah, this week it's sponsored by Gobstoppers Lollies, because trust me, you know how to suck. So I'm going to give it this week to JC Jackson.
I hope that was aimed generally at the Patriots and not a personal vendetta against myself.
Yeah. So I'm going to go with JC Jackson, because I did think he had a good return. And not only on the field, his positivity off it. He spoke in his post-game press conferences about how thrilled he was to be back, how it feels like home being back there. So that's hopefully some positivity that can spread around the locker room. And like I said, I could be really excited to see JC and Gonzalez and the Jones trio. If that's our defensive backs next year, that could be really exciting. So I've gone for JC Jackson this week. But technically, I guess I've given it to Gonzalez's replacement. So you could argue I'm still going for the same every week.
I think you gave it to Duggar last week there, didn't you? So
I did, yeah. So go on, the next game.
That is, we are on to Vegas, baby. It is. I have to look at my sheet now because I didn't write down when it was. The game is on Sunday, October 15th at 4:05 p.m. or 9:05 if you're living in the UK, as we are. So, yeah, that's it. On to Vegas, baby. I think I broke out the it can't get worse way too soon last week. I want to break out again this week, but I'm a little bit scared to be honest with you.
Go on then. So what's your prediction?
But I am still predicting. I am predicting that as Bill says, they start over this week and make some improvements. Literal quotes I took there, by the way. Well, almost. He said starting over, to be exact. And they do better. I don't think they're going to be supersonic, but they find a way to beat the Raiders.
Bye.
Oh, not very much.
Field goal?
There's not very much in it. There's not very much scored. There's just not very much. But they win. So
I'd like to think they're going to play better. I think they'll lose. I've gone field goal loss 2017. And that's being positive.
Okay. And on that bombshell, folks, we will end another episode of Pat's Procrastination, brought to you by the Pat's Propaganda YouTube channel. Please do not forget to subscribe. Big thanks to everybody that has supported us so far in our little show that is only on its 5th episode. We do hope to get to the end of the season unscathed, potentially. So from him and from me, tune in next time and go Pats.
LFG.